we doing for team news, Brian, this week?
Yeah, well, it's something similar. We haven't got any big injuries from last week, so maybe something similar.
What about Ash and Liam Sutcliffe? How close are those guys?
Both got a good chance. Yeah, they'll train today. We'll see how they go. Ash Goulding has been suffering an hamstring there, but he reported well yesterday. We'll train today and see how he goes. And Liam Sutcliffe, he'll be available for selection, so he's likely to play as well.
What can you say about Jack Walker holding the fort for Ash?
Yeah, he's been good. He's been good against Doncaster. Showed up really well. Had some moments against Huddersfield that indicate he's going to be a good player, and he's taken his chance really well. So there's a lot more of a journey in front of Jack Walker, and nobody's getting too excited about it just yet. But for a 17-year-old lad to play in 2 first-grade games is and be a standout as well is good.
I guess he'll only improve by playing at a similar sort of level. Will he go back to the 19s, or could he go out on loan somewhere?
No, I don't think there's a rush to put him on loan, and I don't think there's a rush to accelerate him to be playing first team. He's 17, and it's great for him. It gives us a great indicator where he's at, and the standout that he had against Doncaster was great. His performance against Doncaster was very good, and we all played to a lesser level against Huddersfield. And there was 1 or 2 moments there, if you're going to be critical, there's 1 or 2 moments in there which he's going to go through as a 70-year-old bloke who hasn't played that much professional rugby league, never mind first team rugby league. So, just because he shows up well in those 2 games, it doesn't mean there's a necessity to then go get him playing against men as a 17-year-old boy. So we just got to make sure that we bring him through in the right way and not throw him straight in there. It's good to know that he can, and the next time Ash Goulding's suffering for whatever reason, injuries, we know we can confidently say that he can come and do a job for us, which is great.
What sort of improvements do you want to see this week?
There'll be a range of things really. I don't think there was one particular area where we were off. We was off in a few areas. I said after the game that I'm not being disrespectful to Huddersfield at all. I just thought it was a really poor, slow game, a very disjointed game, a game where the referee's whistle blew far too much. You look at the numbers of indicators of how intense a game is. One of them would be how many play the balls are involved in a game. There was a really low number of play the balls involved in the game compared to some other games we've had. I thought we were poor. And again, I don't want to detract away from anything that Huddersfield did well, but I thought we were poor in most areas. So I just thought our intensity and our concentration levels and our energy was down in a lot of areas.
What do you expect from Catalan? More intense encounter?
It's an interesting one, isn't it? Because I've seen them play over there and not been great, and I've seen them play over here and not been great, but then I've also seen them play over there and over here and been fantastic. And really what they are is a big set. And just recently for us, over the last 2-3 seasons, we've really struggled over there with the occasion, the tempo of the game over there. We don't seem to have got into many games over there, and have been off right from the off. So we know it can be a very difficult fixture over there.
Logistically, is the challenge still the travel still a challenge?
No, I don't think there's too much in the travel. The fact is that we don't do it. We only do it once a year. And if you cop for them in playoffs or in the Challenge Cup, of course, then you've got to do it more than that. But I wouldn't ever hide behind that. Although we only do it once a year, and from when I was coaching London, you get used to travel. The more you do it, the better at it you get. But in terms of our performances, no, there's nothing in that. There's nothing in the fact that we've got to do something different this week. I think the fact that they've got a very partisan crowd, it's a very intense place to go, and nobody likes you, which is nothing new to Leeds for us, but nobody likes you when you go over there and everything gets appealed, everything gets called for. There's an unbelievable amount of pressure on the referee, and that's got to be said. There is an unbelievable amount of pressure on the referee to keep making correct calls rather than go with what 8,000-9,000 people are cheering for. So it's as I say, we don't have a good. We haven't been having such a good run over there over the last 2-3 seasons. So we'd like to get that back swinging in our way, really.
Don't know if you've seen the England squad, 17 this morning.
No, I haven't. No.
Callum and Ryan both starting. That wouldn't surprise you, would it?
No. It's Ryan Hall's been a fantastic performer, as has Callum as for England, and there's nothing in our performances or their performances in the last 12 months to suggest that they should be out of the England squad. I know our team struggled last year, but I don't think them two have been way off.
Would you raise an eyebrow at Zach Hardacre being named in the centres?
No, he makes it. He's a good centre. He's an outstanding centre. Who's at fullback?
Ratchford.
Okay. All right. I can see that. He's a great runner of the ball, Zach. He's got a snake-like body. He's not the most physically biggest bloke you've ever seen. He's quite a tall fella, actually. But his hips and his backside are not that big compared to other line breakers, you know. But for some reason he does, and can break a line and get past people, and it's some of that evasiveness and some of the way he runs. He's absolutely a line breaker and a tackle breaker, so I can see that.
Is the outcome significant, do you think, on Saturday?
In what? For what?
Does
Significant
it
for
matter
what?
if we win or lose with regard to the World Cup at the end of the year?
Well, I don't know. I didn't give it that much thought. I can't imagine why losing would be beneficial. But by the same token, I can't imagine why putting 50 on them would be beneficial. I think what they're hoping for, and whatever we've been talking about in England preps, and Wayne Bennett's picked this up as well, is that the intensity of games that England have going into what is going to be a mega intense tournament, they don't have enough of it. So, you know, if they win by 20 points to 18, I think that'd be a great outcome, and Samoa have never been too far off it and pressured England, and England have to make some really smart game management decisions during that win. I think that would be the ideal outcome for England. Smashing them won't be any good.
Thank you, Brian.
Brian, it's so tight in the top, say, 6-7 teams in Super League. It makes every 2 points even more vital. How important is it you bounce back this week and get the points in France?
Yeah, it's big. It's big. I mean, we're season over by any means. I'm not going to tell you it's definitely not a must-win game, but don't read into it that we don't want to go over there and win. And it's not so much. I get myself in trouble again, but it's not so much that we didn't win against Huddersfield. It's because we played really poorly. That flattened everybody, and we had been playing really well. You know, from some really robust performances early in the season, that rightly questions were asked about our attack, and you know, will that improve? And then it did. And then we've been having some really good performances. A blip at Castleford, but some really good performances just recently. And then we'll come against Huddersfield, and it's flat. It's flat. Some really soft tries, some really loose errors near their try line. We just didn't apply any pressure. So I think that's the one for everybody, for us, to go over to Catalans and play well. If that equals a win, brilliant. If it doesn't equal a win, it doesn't mean our season's rocking or in trouble. As long as we play well. And I'll always say it, as long as we can keep some stuff that we can build on for next year. Now, after against Huddersfield, there's not much we can build on because we didn't do that much well.
Do you just write it off, but was it that bad? It was untrue, if you like, the performance against Huddersfield. Do you just move on and put things right this week?
I can tell you that it was that bad. I don't think you can tell me it was that bad. I'm not going to stand there and listen to you tell me it was that bad. It wasn't awful. But where we'd been and some of the tries that we conceded were just, what on earth was that? You know, how on earth from defending like we had been to doing that? And it happens, you know, some of that concentration lapse. You know, and look, historically against Huddersfield, I don't know whether this resonates with anybody, but historically against Huddersfield, I can't remember an attractive game for the last 5 years that we've played Huddersfield. I cannot remember an attractive game. They're always stop, start, jinky affairs, just referee involved too much. So And it's just one of those that, let's, you know, I'm not treating it as well. It's just one of those, let's carry on as normal. There's some things that we have to address and some things that we needed to get on top of, and let's hope we do that this week.
You mentioned Jack Walker earlier. Is a big part of his development now his development as a human being, because he is a boy playing in a tough man's sport, isn't he?
Yeah, he's got to grow. He's got to grow, and you know, we see this quite often where nobody knows about a kid, and they come on and they go do some things, and you know, I made mention of Liam Sutcliffe's debut and Stevie Ward's debut, and those players' debuts there, and all those, you know, needed to, and I've physically developed his 17. There's not that many 17-year-old lads knocking about that you think he doesn't need any more physical improvement. So, of all the other stuff that he's got to get in his game, he's got to grow as well, and he will do.
Injury-wise this week, how are you looking? You expecting any bodies?
He's what, sorry?
Injury-wise this week, how are you looking? Bodies-wise, we've got anyone maybe coming back?
Yeah, Liam Sutcliffe should be back from his concussion, and Ash Goulding will be available for selection with his hamstring.
And looking at Catalans, like I said earlier, been very up and down, haven't they? Does it almost make it harder, or do you just have to every week just prepare for the best?
No, it is difficult to get a read. It is. It's hard, and you know, our players see a Catalans team that at times aren't that good, and then they also see Catalan teams that scare you a little bit. You know, you worry, you think, wow, they're a big, powerful team that will need containing. So it's easy for us to say, well, we'll just prepare for the best ones, and in the main, we're good at doing that. So we'll prepare for the best version.
Brian, just looking ahead to the fixtures, some might say difficult running coming up. Does that put more of an emphasis for you on getting a positive result in Perpignan?
No. No, I don't look at run-ins. I don't look at the next few games. I don't look at strategically planning about. I don't know what that means actually. Would you? It doesn't matter if you win this one or that one, because we've got some games that we might lose. I don't. That's not for this team. We don't plan like that.
I know we've talked about the emergence of Jack Walker, and you've praised Joe Moon as well this season. Any other standout players for you at this stage, or players that you perhaps want to see a bit more from?
Oh, jeez, you put me on the spot there. No, I wouldn't highlight anybody. Give me an hour and I'll come back to you. But I wouldn't highlight anybody. I think what we've done well for the last, I suppose, since the Castlewood performance is group together as a team, and come together as a team. And I think after the whole game, I talked about that collective effort, especially defensively. And serious questions were asked, as they have been last year, and the group was used to being asked questions of and didn't know how to deal with it last year. I think the group showed some maturity over that period just after the Castleford game. How we'd matured. I'm not talking about age matured. I'm talking about how we'd dealt with some difficult situations. Didn't throw the baby out with the bathwater. Didn't overreact. No knee-jerk reactions. Just, well, let's go turn this around because we know we can do that. So there's been some progression with this group, and if anything, that's why Huddersfield was so disappointing, that we fell a little bit, tripped up a little bit.
I know we spoke a lot about a learning process last year for some of the young players. Have you seen enough from them at this point to see that they actually have taken a lot of things on board?
Yeah, they have. Yeah, Ash Goulding. If you just take him as a test case, really, who played in some really difficult circumstances last year, then started off as a fullback this year and has copped for a load of criticism, and culminated in all our performances, you know, a few weeks ago. So, but then has been a standout. He's a mature man. He's got a good head on his shoulders there, Ash Goulding, and I'm sure it's in no small part to how we all dealt with last year. So. Last year and poor performances and you know, one of those nights that every team has every now and again can ruin you, or it can shake you up and put some steel in you. And he's a mature fella. He speaks to the group now. He talks in meetings. He lets the team know what we need. And he's only a young fella, and compared to some of the old soldiers that have been in the team, hasn't really done anything, but has got that presence already to be able to say this is what we need defensively, this is where I want you to be stored, and this is what I want with this is when and where I want the ball. So I've no doubt that's in no small part to do with all the experiences that he endured last year.
You mentioned Catalans and a side tough to get a read on. Does that make it even tougher, the fact that Luke Walsh has received a 1 game ban and he won't be involved?
Yeah, I think that'd be significant. I think who they put there would be interesting. I know Tony Gigo, who's been playing fullback, has played a lot of standoff in his time. I coached him at London as a young fella, so and he's no slouch. He's really making a name for himself. So whoever they put there, I'm sure will have a robust game. It happens quite often where somebody who doesn't normally play who's not normally a half plays in the halves. They end up having more of a robust games and challenge it a little bit, rather than some of that tactical game management stuff.
It's a good example of that, what Joel Moon's been able to do for us.
Similar, yeah. Mooney takes a line on, and halves need to be able to take a line on. And I know he does it sometimes. He runs like a centre. He's threat of a pass, or the people moving around him are probably not as structured and not as set in stone as what you might see with other halves. But yeah, it works for Mooney.
Is it telling that the people we've had missing in recent weeks and the level of performance we've been able to come up with, that they haven't really been missed to the public in terms of our performances? And was that perhaps an indication of last week that we've been playing so well, but eventually we just dipped a bit? Possibly.
Listen, you lose 2 fellas like Carl Ablett and Brett Ferrish for a number of weeks, and somebody's going to give because they get through a hell of a lot of work for you. And Jimmy Kainos, who's been a standout in the early stages of the season, and then we rejigged the team about a little bit. For sure, I think that the fact that we're not been missing them as much is an indicator of how well we've been going. I'd like to think that you reach a level of performance for a number of weeks, but it's impossible to maintain that every single week. So I'd have liked to have been by Huddersfield by 2 points in the last 9 seconds of the game, and we would have accepted that, and we would have said, well, you can't keep winning every week. But I've got to be a little bit more pragmatic than that. We played poor, and that's the one thing that we're going to be looking to change around this week.
Looks like there's nearly 1,000 Leeds fans travelling down to Perpignan this weekend. An incredible effort by the supporters.
Yeah, it is. It's hard to quantify it really, because they keep doing it, and the danger is that we take them for granted. And I thought the crowd against Huddersfield was fantastic. I know it wasn't the best performance ever, as I've already said, but they were as supportive and as good as you're going to get. And historically, when we go down there, we always take a good number of people there, and they're great. It's great to see them actually. I don't know what this sounds like, but sometimes when you go over there, and we've gone in a day and back in a day, sometimes you're out your environment to such a degree where it can rattle you a little bit, and I think that's a big part of it. And seeing our fans just gives you that bit of comfort, you know, the way that they do. You can hear them as well. It's a big part of what we do over there.